Hi, dear listeners, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's podcast. Today's guest is Andrew Phipps, a clinical psychologist, an advanced schema therapist, and trainer from Sydney, Australia. He has 20 years of clinical experience, spending most of his career in public mental health settings. In addition to his work in the schema therapy space, he has published in the field of early intervention for trauma, self-help treatment for depression, and clinical outcomes for DBT. And so today we'll be discussing schema therapy. Thank you so much for being here today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hi, and welcome to the BPD Bravery Show, where we discuss tips, strategies, struggles, triumphs, and success stories related to borderline personality disorder. Here is your host, Faye Green.
Where in the States are you?
Canada. What time is it there?
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know you were in Canada. 9:30 in the morning.
Wait, did I say Canada?
You did.
Sorry.
I did stuff like that all the time. I went a couple of weeks ago. I introduced, because I was so nervous at a party thing. I introduced a good friend by the completely different name.
Oh.
Yeah. And anyway, it's pretty. Anyway, so where are you?
I've never even been to Canada. Oh God. I'm in North Carolina right now.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I appreciate you being here.
No worries.
So let's get into the schema therapy.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Let's say I don't know what schema therapy is because I only found out about it 2 months ago.
Sure.
I don't know. I've never heard of it. It was DBT.
Yeah.
It's always DBT, CBT. And so for someone who doesn't know anything or has never heard of schema therapy, how would you explain it to them?
So schema therapy is a model of psychotherapy which was originally developed from CBT, specifically as a treatment for borderline personality disorder. And the big difference with schema therapy to CBT is that we assume that the active ingredient in the therapy is meeting unmet emotional needs. So we do in schema therapy, we do a lot of the similar sort of stuff they do in CBT or DBT, challenging assumptions, changing behaviors, but we see as the main active ingredient, so to speak, is the meeting of emotional needs, and that can occur through the relationship by providing someone a felt experience of safety or a felt experience of acceptance, but can also happen through what we call experiential strategies. So we do a lot of stuff in schema therapy, like imagery rescripting, where we're trying to provide the person what they needed but didn't get growing up. I hope that makes sense.
For example, what kind of imagery?
So say for example, we're working with someone who has a history of neglect. And so in the here and now, so maybe what I should say as well. Oh no, I answer this question, then I'll kind of go back to that. So say for example, someone has a history of neglect, and as a result of that neglect, the person has developed this schema where they have this kind of felt sense of loneliness. And that kind of gets triggered off in the here and now with different sorts of, reminders. And the person starts to feel lonely and very, very sad. And we, as therapists, try and make those links between what's happening now, like what we call the triggering of schemas in the here and now, to the unmet needs in early development. So one thing that we might do is that we might ask someone to focus on, unfortunately, that very unpleasant feeling of loneliness and sadness, close their eyes and think of a time growing up where they felt something similar. And so the person might be closing their eyes and they might say, I'm at home, I'm alone, I'm waiting for my parents to come home, and I just feel so very, very lonely. And so we're trying to prompt the person to be there as much as possible, be that little kid. And we come into the image as an adult and we do our absolute best to look after the young person by nurturing them, by providing them care, by providing safety and acceptance. So it's almost like we call it this idea of like a corrective emotional experience. So that's what we're trying to provide in imagery. And there's other variants, of course, and it depends on the types of experience that the person has had. So, unfortunately, a common experience, particularly people with their diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, is there's a lot of experiences of abuse and violence. And so, when we're doing the imagery, we're asking the person to go back to that time and place when that violence or that abuse was about to occur. We don't allow it to happen, but then we come into the image and we protect them. We give the person a felt sense of safety and a felt sense of protection.
Okay, so I have a scenario, for example. Can I?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
of course.
close my eyes. I see myself as a maybe 8-year-old.
Yeah.
I was put on a big, those big buses, commercial ones, take you from town to town. Put onto this bus, told, go to the town 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
Get off. I remember if I was told where to get off or just get off somewhere, and it was before cell phones. And just wait there, and your cousin will come get you, or someone will come
Yes.
get you, right?
Yes.
And of
Yes.
course, you go. You have no idea how to get off. You ask people. You're super shy, and so it's very difficult for you to ask people. And you gather the courage to ask people, and you get off, and you stand next to this store, and you're waiting for someone to pick you up. You have no way to contact anyone.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there was those, wait, do they have in Australia those, you put in a quarter, you put in, you dial.
Like payphones.
I'm so, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Payphones, yeah. We still have them, not many of them though. It's like, I'm sure it's like in the States because you don't need them anymore because everyone's got cell phones.
Right. So there was that phone. I had no quarters.
Yeah.
And I stand there and wait half an hour. Honestly, I was a kid. I have no idea the time. It felt like forever, but I have no idea how long it was.
Of course, yeah.
And then I gather the courage to ask strangers for quarters because I needed coins to call. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't remember exactly how long or how someone got me, or people started realizing that this kid is just standing there way too long, maybe an hour, maybe two. It's getting dark and, she's still there. Was I crying or not? I can't remember. But at the end of the day, I didn't sleep on the streets, which means somehow I got to my relative's home.
Yeah.
So where in this schema, where would schema come in and say, okay, you're not alone, you are,
so
or did this not even happen?
In our model, if it was in an imagery, what I'd be interested to get a sense of is how you felt and what the need is. I mean, there's a few things that come to mind for me, a few unmet needs. One is, I mean, it's a huge responsibility for an 8-year-old to do that. It's kind of like, that's the first thing that comes to mind, is that there's this kind of like giving of adult responsibility way before you were equipped to do that. The other thing that kind of comes to mind for me is like a sense of loneliness, like you're just all by yourself, and so that would be attached to a different sort of schema. It's usually like what we call like an emotional deprivation schema. And the third thing that comes to mind is that how much in that moment were you scared, and so those different sorts of feelings relate to different sorts of needs. So if we were doing an imagery, I'd be really trying to, attune to the way that you're feeling and attune to what it is that you need. And so I'd be coming in and doing my best to provide that. If you were scared, I'd be coming in and I'd be sort of taking over and letting you know that everything's safe and nothing bad's going to happen. If it was like a sense of loneliness and sadness, I'd be coming in and letting you know that now it's me and you. Like you and me are here, and I see that you're sad. I see that you're very, very sad for really good reason. But from now on, things are going to be different. Does that make sense? So I'd actually kind of come into the image. If we were doing an imagery, you'd be that 8-year-old young person, and I'd be me as an adult, and I'd be doing my best to meet that emotional need.
And so I'm assuming now, if I would have similar situation in my life or something that reminds me of that situation, I would feel like, oh, I could handle it.
With repetition. Yeah. I mean, I think so what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide a corrective emotional experience. So when those when the things are triggered in the here and now, the triggering is not as great. And then what we're trying to do over time is we're trying to kind of build up what we call like the healthy adult part of us, to provide our own care. And part of that as well is creating like a part of the process of imagery is creating a felt experience of that was then, this is now. So it's like in the here and now we feel all sorts of stuff. You know, we feel scared, we feel shame, we feel lonely, but the environment doesn't necessarily, of course sometimes it doesn't necessarily match that, but it's kind of like this process of being able to distinguish between feelings that we're having now, which are related to what's going on, and feelings which we're having, which is more related to things that are historical. I hope is that making sense?
Yeah, I think I have let me see if I got it. So let's say during this past, in the summer, I was in Greece, and fourth day I'm there, I get to this Airbnb. I practiced the language for 6 weeks before going. I got there, everything was out of my head. I do not know a single word.
Yeah.
Can't remember anything.
Yeah.
And I get locked out of the house.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I can relate. I've tried to learn to speak Spanish several times, and it's not my thing. And yeah, sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing.
No.
I can relate to
languages is not my strong suit. You know, it is just, I have an issue with languages. It just is. So I don't speak the language. Yeah. Oh, you have no idea.
Oh, I think I do. Oh my goodness. I've tried so hard, so many times. Anyway, sorry, Faye, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all good. So I'm not speaking the language. I get locked out. I didn't know that there are doors. If they close, they automatically lock. And so my phone was left inside. My shoes were inside. I'm running around barefoot. So I'm running around town barefoot. No one speaks English.
Oh,
I have no phone to translate. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get back in. I don't have the key.
Yeah.
And so now I'm thinking about that kid over there who was all alone and was so afraid to communicate with others and didn't know where to go. But I kept and those people will never forget me. I don't think they ever will. Just running around barefoot, I started crying. And I kept telling myself, why is it of course? I'm an adult.
Because it's bloody terrifying. It's scary. See, this is the thing. Sorry, you go. I've got something to say about this from a schema perspective, though. Sorry, you go.
But I kept on telling myself, you're going to get through this. You're an adult now. You're going to get through this. You're an adult now. But I was still crying like a...
Because it's genuinely scary. No, so this illustrates a perfect point. So things happen now. If I was in this situation, I would also be overwhelmed and scared, but there'd also be a piece of it on top, which would be the schema stuff. I'm assuming my on top experience, making something like 6 out of 10 distressing to 9 out of 10 distressing, is going to be different to yours. But it's the schemas that put it from difficult, challenging, hard, scary to absolutely terrifying and overwhelming. And so in therapy, that's the stuff that we're trying to work on. So it's not as if we're trying to pretend that things don't happen in the here and now and they're not scary, but it's about trying to work on the stuff which is more historical. But what you did is perfect to the model. So what we have this concept of modes. So we have like a vulnerable child mode. And so what we're doing in therapy is trying to get through to that part of the person that feels all these feelings. And so we'd be doing stuff like that. Like, you know, we do this thing called chair work. So we'd like bring out a chair, and I'd be saying to that chair, you know, everything's okay. You've got Faye, who's this amazing, strong woman, and she can look after you, and I can kind of guide you as well. I know you feel scared, but everything's okay. Like, we would do a very similar thing, but we have this language around modes to kind of, you know, like separate the different parts of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think what you did was beautiful. You know, it's wonderful.
It was only beautiful because this was the third day since I've arrived to Greece. And the first day I had one disaster. The second day I had another disaster. And the third day this happened. I was ready to go back to the US, and I booked Airbnbs for 2 months. I booked a 2-month trip. So I think after the third disaster, I was like, wait, maybe it's because you overcame the last 2 days.
Yeah.
No, actually, this was the second day. The third day, something else happened. And then I was like, I'm giving myself 7 days in a week. If this is still going on, I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And by the end of the trip, I was looking into buying houses in Greece. So.
Oh, awesome. You turned it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was scary. Because my brain couldn't understand how I will get back into this house. I couldn't think of an idea, right? The problem was that when it came to problem solving, I hit a dead end. How am I going to get shoes? I'm running around the streets with no shoes on. Yeah. I'm trying to speak to people. I'm asking them. So I did remember how to ask them in Greek if they speak English, and everyone's telling me no. It's in a tiny village, a remote village. And I'm like, that's it. I'm going to sleep on the streets. And I was there. I was with my dog. So I was like holding my dog and running around with him.
You took your dog to Greece?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Do they not have like quarantine and stuff? Like you have to leave the dog in quarantine?
No, not Greece.
Not in Greece. Okay.
Not the EU.
Can't do that in Australia. You got to leave the dog's pets in quarantine for like 6 weeks or something.
Wow.
Anyway.
No,
so you had your dog, sorry.
I thought we're going to sleep on the streets. I was like running around with him on my arms. Could be he helped me a bit. But I mean, just that picture in my mind, it looked pathetic.
Oh.
And I'm like, how am I getting into the house? I didn't think I can because the owners of the Airbnb were 3 hours away. So they're not going to come.
So from a schema therapy perspective, it sounds like, you know, I talked about this idea of modes. It sounds like you are in that vulnerable child mode. You're in that kind of same state that you're in as an 8-year-old where you didn't have the resources, you didn't have the kind of adult problem-solving ability to, you know, to get help. And so you kind of like, it's objectively distressing. I would be upset and distressed in that scenario, but it sounds like in that moment, like you're stuck in that vulnerable, what we call like the vulnerable child mode. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, but it's interesting as well that the comment that you made is that the image was pathetic. And in our language, well, that's the thing. I'd sort of think, okay, so it sounds like there's a part of you that's saying like you're pathetic. Is that true?
I mean, think about a person running around without shoes. I was limping because there were blisters on the bottom of my foot because I stepped on things. Yeah. I was crying. I mean, how would you describe that?
It sounds really upsetting to me. I mean, I wouldn't use the word pathetic. To me, it sounds like there's a part of you that's saying you're pathetic. And in our like mode language, we have this idea of this punitive critic mode, which is the internalized voice of the people, group, society that hurt us. And this part of us tells us things like we're not good enough, we're worthless, we're pathetic, we're ugly, all that sort of stuff. So that's what I'd wonder about as well. And we all have this, like it's, you know, we all have these, what we call like critic modes. It's either, the part of us that sort of puts us down or the part of us that pushes us to like as far as we can go. But yeah, just to reflect on that from a schema therapy perspective, it sounds like in that moment, as you say, like you couldn't problem solve. So it's like you're in like the vulnerable child mode. And so what you did though, which was amazing, is that it sounds like you eventually got yourself out by getting into what we call like the healthy adult mode, by saying that, you're okay, you're going to be able to sort this out, giving yourself that kind of that reassurance. And I guess in schema therapy, we assume that when people present to therapy, our role as the therapist is to be that healthy adult for the client, to be able to provide acceptance, care, nurturance, and soothing. And so over time, the people that we're working with start to internalize our healthy adult to build their own healthy adult. Like, I mean, over time we have like specific techniques. Like I said before, like this chair work thing where we get out a chair and we practice, soothing the vulnerable part of us. But at least initially, it's really about internalizing the messages that we give to the people that we're working with, like the care, the acceptance, the safety, and that sort of stuff. But it sounds like in that moment, you're already obviously doing it for yourself. But it's hard.
It took a few minutes. It didn't happen right away.
Yeah.
So why schema therapy for BPD? How does it help people with BPD versus, say, regular therapy?
Like, so I mean, it's just another evidence-based treatment. So, the three main, I'm sure you know this, like the three main evidence-based treatments for borderline personality disorder are dialectical behaviour therapy, schema therapy, and transference-focused psychotherapy. There's other models that have been researched and trials and all sorts of stuff, but they're the three most researched models in treatment for borderline personality disorder. And I guess, look, they all work. I'm very biased because I just like the model. I like schema therapy. But I guess why? Are you asking sort of, why is this a good model, or how does it work, or?
Why does it tie in to borderline personality? Like, how does it tie in?
So
is it because a lot of us have messed up childhoods, or?
To answer your question in one word, yes.
Really?
Yeah. So schema therapy is based on the idea that growing up, we all have needs, and no one gets out of childhood and adolescence with all of their emotional needs intact. But some people go through childhood, adolescence, and have a massive, an enormous emotional need desert. Experiencing, actual trauma, repetitive trauma, experiencing, actual neglect, experiencing actual shaming over and over again. And so as a result, that's where the schemas come from. So we kind of have this kind of sense that we're not good enough, sense that people are going to hurt us, sense that no one's ever going to be there for us, and we're completely alone. And because the environments that cause those schemas, and the schemas themselves, like the feelings attached to it, like the fear, the shame, the loneliness, the sadness, are so distressing, we need to develop these coping strategies as a way to kind of deal with them. So like common ones experienced with people with diagnosis of borderline personality disorders, like extreme emotional numbing, like dissociation, or deliberate self-harm as a way to kind of regulate affect. And so in our model, the idea is we're trying to meet those emotional needs, and that's what we see as the active ingredient to provide care, to heal the schemas, to provide safety, to heal the schemas, to provide acceptance, to heal the schemas. But it's actually really challenging because of the environments that cause the schemas were so distressing. The coping strategies have to be equally as strong as a way to cope. So like think about like emotional numbing, for example. Like we think you have to be vulnerable and you have to be feeling the true feelings in order for the healing to take place. There's this phrase that I really like you got to feel it to heal it. But for someone who's been through all this stuff, all this like neglect, all this shaming, all this abuse, it's actually really difficult to be vulnerable because they've learned very early on that if I am vulnerable, I'm going to get hurt. So what we spend a lot of time doing is having to what we call like bypass these coping strategies to find ways to, reduce the dissociation, reduce the the strategies that are inhibiting the schemas being met. And of course there'd be like interpersonal distancing as well, for good reason. People with these sorts of histories are likely gonna, sometimes get angry at someone who's trying to kind of get close to them because it doesn't sort of feel safe. So that could be another coping strategy. Like we have this term called like an angry protector. We have a mode called detached protector. So it's the part of us that shuts off the feelings. We also have this mode called an angry protector. It's the part of us that kind of pushes other people away with anger as a way to kind of protect ourselves. So that's sort of that's the basic idea of how it works. We're trying to meet emotional needs that have been unmet, but it's challenging because of the coping strategies that get in the way.
Now, what about not an angry protector and not a distant, what about a clingy protector? Is that a thing? People with BPD sometimes have, because we're so afraid of abandonment, we sometimes cling on to people a bit too much.
Yeah, so there's three different types of coping modes. So and they relate directly to the like basic responses to threat. So it's like fight, flight, and freeze. So what you're talking about now is more of what we call like an overcompensating coping mode. It's kind of like this idea of hanging on so the person sort of doesn't leave. But unfortunately, that's it kind of works in a way. But why are you laughing?
Because it ends up not working.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's the thing. So it's kind of like it sometimes works, and it works for short periods of time. But it creates a relationship that sort of doesn't feel mutually safe. So it can be about, the work can be about working with, these sort of more what we call overcompensating modes.
It got me thinking, because I used to think that, I'm such a giving person. And then when I found out, I was reading about like people like to overcompensate because they're trying to not lose this person. I realized, so that's why I'm always buying gifts and doing things for my friends. I'm just afraid to lose them.
Yeah.
I'm not a nice person at all.
Oh, I don't know about that. We all do this stuff. Like we all do things. Like there's a healthy variant as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like if you, I mean, we don't probably have time to kind of go into this with your own experience, but like showing people that you care is a healthy thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like, in our model anyway, it's not like we're trying to get rid of these coping strategies because they have a very healthy variant. Like people will stick around if they feel valued. But like, as you say, it's like, are we kind of other focus so much that we sacrifice our own needs as a consequence? So that's sort of when it becomes difficult, because we end up feeling depleted and our needs aren't met. Like we become so like other directed. We have this phrase, other directed.
Or then we get upset at the person. For example, what I once did was
resentful.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Resentful is the word.
Yeah.
Because I had no money for food for myself, but that person was going through a hard time. So I got them flowers. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? After I've done it and I felt like they weren't appreciative and they weren't there for me, blah, blah, blah. Then you're right. I get resentful.
Yeah.
But at the end, I was resentful towards myself. I was upset.
Yeah,
I was upset why I was so stupid.
yeah.
I mean, come
That's the
on.
critical part of you, though. Like in mode terms, there's a punitive critic saying that you're stupid. Why would you do this?
Yeah.
But I bet if you think about when you've had to learn to be other directed, it would make complete sense given your history. So this is part of what we're working with as well in the model is this part of us, this very punitive and critical part of us that just doesn't give us a break and doesn't sort of show us any like compassion. But like, do you know what I mean? Like people that do this stuff, people that are so other directed are often terrified of losing people. It's because they have lost people, or terrified of not being accepted because they have been bullied, or terrified of being alone because that's been their environment. So they find this way of coping. Like it kind of makes sense. It's not stupid at all. It's just a way of surviving. Do you know what I mean? But the critical parts of us don't give us that leeway. The critical parts of us make us feel stupid for doing this thing that we've had to learn to do to survive. I hope that makes sense.
Damn, I need to get me some schema therapy.
I'll hook you up.
Because I've never, like I said, I mean, I've heard of DBT, CBT, something with an M.
Not mindfulness or mentalization. Oh, yeah, mentalization-based psychotherapy. Yeah. So there's a lot of work done with mentalization-based psychotherapy as well.
But I've never heard of, like, till 2 months ago, I've not. And that's when I started looking into it. And I'm like,
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because our founder, Jeffrey Young, is from the States, and there's sort of two big groups, two big sort of research groups. One is in the States and one is in the Netherlands.
I did not know of that, but I have to. It's really interesting. Curious, what do you do now? You have like your own practice, or you teach therapists? Because what I thought is you teach therapists to do that.
Yeah, bit of all of it. So I spent most of my career in public mental health, and I don't know if it's the same in the States, but in Australia, the role of at least my role in that setting was working mostly with people with personality disorders, borderline personality disorder being the most common personality disorder, mostly working with people with that diagnosis, and then kind of becoming really interested in schema therapy over the years. And so I've subsequently left the health service, and my work looks mostly like most of the stuff. I mostly do therapy. I do a good bit of supervision, which is like mentoring and coaching other clinicians, and I also do teaching as well, like through teaching other psychologists schema therapy, and also teaching in a couple of the universities in Sydney as well. So that's my work, is mostly therapy, some supervision, and some teaching as well. It's great. It's a really great balance. I love it.
No, because I always think, how do I know if my childhood was messed up, or if it's because I've got borderline personality disorder that I view my childhood messed up, right? I could never know, was it really that messed up, or is it because I have this disorder that I view it, like the way I experience it, it's messed up, and someone who wouldn't have it, they would think it's a good childhood.
Yeah,
Does it make any sense?
It does. It does. I mean, I have an 8-year-old, and hearing you talk about that story of you being 8, and I think about my son, I feel sad, and I would hope that I would never put him through that. Take from that what you will, but that, to me, that's one example of an unnecessarily distressing situation that you went through.
I mean, when I was 6,
and that's probably not even scratching the surface. Sorry.
That's what I was saying. When I was 6, my mother had her 5th and 6th child, the twins. That's when I had to become a mom in the house. So I was 6 years old babysitting twins that were less than 2 weeks old for 2 hours.
So much responsibility. Way before you were ready.
I don't know if I wasn't ready. That's why my childhood ended, because the years leading up to that, that them being born, I remember my childhood as very happy until then.
Yeah.
And it wasn't perfect, but it was relatively happy compared to, like, okay, now you have 5 younger siblings. there is no money to help
Yes.
your mother. Your father
Yeah.
is usually not home, so you better grow up. Or
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And focus on others. And do you see that link? Do you see that link between that thing that you say that you do now sometimes, which is like giving gifts and stuff, and that thing that you learnt to do as a 6-year-old? Like being so focused on others, being so focused on the needs of emotions of other people.
Yeah, I hate myself with that.
But that's the critical part of you saying that. And then my response is, of course you'd do that. Like, what can I just ask? What did you get? What did you get from other people by either like parents, caregivers, whatever, by focusing on like looking after the kids, looking after your younger siblings?
Well, I knew that my younger siblings had someone to look after them. I felt responsible for them.
Yeah, yeah. So you got potentially like a sense of safety or a sense of
I wanted to give them, and a lot of my life I felt like I still do that. I want to give others what I don't have. What I felt like I needed,
yeah.
I gotta. Wow. No, I'm really messed up. Oh, well. Yeah, that's my life. I don't see it as, oh my God, that's my life. That's how it
Sure.
is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to take up
Yeah.
more of your time, but I so appreciate you're doing this.
Not at all. No, yeah. Grateful to be asked.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's BPD Bravery Show. If you've enjoyed it, then like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure to tune into our show every Monday and Friday. And remember, you are so much more than your BPD.